The schedule's been released. Do the Badgers have a path to 8 wins, 9 wins? Dare I say, is this an easy schedule? Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
People get overhyped about it. I actually love it. I think it's fantastic. I just think you can actually look at the schedule. You can sort of lay things out and talk about, where we can get our wins, where our guaranteed losses are. And as you know, with me, I'm a hype man. I'm going to get excited about it. I'm going to be pumped. I'm going to be talking about how many games we can win, where our opportunities are. So that's what we're going to get into today. Hopefully Ryan joins. We're going to talk some portal superlatives as well. Maybe like toughest stretch, easiest game, things like that. So be thinking about those things. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the pedigree, right? It's interesting to think about where Wisconsin is now. You look at the schedule, you're like, geez, like we should be able to win 8 or 9 games. But the thing is, while we're having that discussion and saying, hey, this is what we need to be doing and we should be winning, the other teams are looking at that schedule and saying, God, Wisconsin kind of sucks right now. That's a win for us, right? So I'm interested to hear what people have to say about the win total and how that's actually working. And if you think it's just kind of like when you look at the Maryland game, for example, they housed us last year in Madison. We're going up to Maryland this year. Is that a guaranteed win for us? No, of course not. But I still think it should be. I mean, I think it's one that you can definitely talk about. Let's pop this up here. Here comes Ryan. There he is.
I don't know. My internet just went out, but I'm back. I don't know what that was. As soon as I started the show, the internet died. So.
The first 40 seconds were me like, wait, is it me? And then I just started talking. But hey, welcome in.
And for everybody who's here, thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers schedule release day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. Rajeev was here. He kept the plane from crashing into a mountain. Let's talk schedules, though. Where did you leave off?
We were just talking about just a general layout of the schedule and whether people get excited about it or not and things like that.
Okay, so I want to start here. Is this an easy schedule, Rajeev? Like, is this an easy schedule?
I mean, obviously, you look at it compared to last year, certainly it is. I think on paper, it is. It is because when you look at the schedule, I see 3 sort of guaranteed losses. And I don't even think some of those you might be able to find a way to win those. But there's 3 that you're like, probably going to lose. Notre Dame, probably going to lose. Even though it's in Lambeau, I don't think we're going to lose that. But hey, at Penn State, at Iowa. Those are the games you're like, yeah, we're losing those games, right? But I mean, I feel like other than that, man, you look across it, you're not overly concerned about the schedule, right? I mean, you talk about Western Illinois, Eastern Michigan, those are wins. Michigan State, UCLA. Now, again, we could lose those games, but so I do think it's an easy schedule. When you have 3 games on the schedule where you're like, you're going to lose those and the rest are winnable, that to me is easy.
I think in this era of the Big Ten, Rajeev, and the graphic I put up didn't work quite right either. So sorry, all sorts of technical difficulties here, but I'm going to share the schedule on a different screen. We're going to make this work. But I think in this era of the Big Ten, if you miss Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Michigan, bro, that's as easy as you're going to get. Now, granted, Wisconsin is playing up in the out-of-conference a little bit with the Notre Dame game. But, dude, you are missing essentially every heavyweight in the Big Ten. Not to mention Washington. Not to mention Illinois. Yeah, this is straight up an easy schedule. For at least in terms of what you're going to be able to do going forward, Rajeev, you are not likely to miss this amount of quality Big Ten heavy hitters. It's rare. So, yeah, I agree with you.
And it's one of those things where you think you got to take advantage of it, right? And this is... We already know that Luke Fickell's on a major hot seat. So if it's not now, then when, right? If it's not now, then when are we actually going to be able to take these games and have these seasons where we can do something with this? I mean, you look down, he's got up on the screen now, Notre Dame, of course. That's going to be a tough one. Although, Ryan, I really do think Lambeau Field has magic, man. I'm just telling you, like that can be a game. That can be a game. Then you got a couple easy ones. There's our toughest game of the season at Penn State. I mean, that's the 4th game of the year with a new coach. Like, and then you can find a way to talk yourself into pretty much any other win, maybe at Iowa, pretty difficult. But those are the toughest Big Ten games we got. That's not bad.
No, it sets up really well. I don't love the bye week. I think the bye week's early. If you're gonna have me build the perfect schedule, I think my bye week is it's probably after UCLA before USC. So I don't love that, but you look at that back half, I think it's super manageable. Even some of the tough games like Penn State, you get early. Penn State is breaking in a new coach, a very new roster. You get them pretty early. We're the first real team they play. They play Marshall, a few other schools before us, but I think that's a good spot to get Penn State. I think. I wish USC would have been a later game in the season for USC to travel into Madison in November would have been great, but I think it's a very easy schedule. But I want to ask you this: are we looking at this as an easy schedule, thinking we still have some pedigree? And the reason I say that is, I think other teams are looking at us and saying, "Oh, thank goodness we have Wisconsin on the schedule."
Yeah, I mentioned that right before you jump back on, and yeah, I agree. Like Maryland's a perfect example of that, right? That's literally that game where we're like, "Yeah, it's at Maryland. We should win that game." Maryland's like, "Nice, Wisconsin's coming to Maryland. We got this," right? I mean, UCLA might be saying that, and yeah, there's a lot of teams that could be thinking it, but. And this is that belief part. This is that time where you have to have a little hope. I'm happy with this roster. I'm happy with what we've done. If our quarterback stays healthy, I'm looking at these games and I'm thinking that's not going to be that difficult if the pieces are there. But it relies on those pieces being there. And I mean, who knows what our defense is going to bring? Are we going to be as good as we were at the end of last year? Don't know. Is that line going to be good enough? Like you can talk yourself into a lot of things. But you're right. I do think some of these teams are looking at this thinking, cool, Wisconsin's coming to town. That's great. But I think it's fair. Our optimism is fair when you look at the schedule.
Can I tell you 7 teams in the Big Ten, Rajeev, last year won 3 conference games or less? 7, counting us. We played the other 6.
Wow. What a great stat. What a great stat.
So we played the bottom 6 teams in the conference last year.
Unless a team like Rutgers decides to have an Indiana type, resurgence or something like that, right? Which, I mean, listen, yeah, every team strengthened. Every team did work in the portal and got excited about what's going on. So it's hard to be, it's hard to be too optimistic about it. But yeah, again, you can talk your way into it, and that's a good stat.
This isn't on our superlatives, but I'm going to ask you right now two quick questions. What is our locked on meetup next year? I think it's going to be USC. That's what sticks out to me for the football meetup. And then which game is most exciting to you on the schedule right now?
So I think the meetup should be the Michigan State, just because I feel like that's a bit more winnable. And I think we need to think about that, Ryan. But yeah, I mean, I think the one that's exciting to me is probably honestly Notre Dame. I mean, I just feel like I'm going to be really excited about that first game. And again, because this is the time of the season where we have hope. And yeah, it's Notre Dame for me. I cannot wait for that game. It's a true barometer. It's a true test. Now, we know that a lot of other teams don't play tough teams in the non-con, and yet we're still one of those teams, and I respect it. I respect us keeping what's on the schedule. For at least this game, we obviously got rid of the other one, Pittsburgh. But I think that's the most exciting game.
Yeah, it's the opening game. It's in Lambeau. It's going to have a ton of energy. I get that. I look at the schedule and I see USC as something that I'll really circle. Getting them in Madison, I think, could be a lot of fun. That's a game I'd circle. I think at the end of the year game against Minnesota, if this season goes away, we think it could. Getting that axe back in Camp Randall could be a ton of fun. Yeah, I think Notre Dame's a good one there, though. All right, we're going to take a quick second here. We're going to go back with superlatives, record prediction, toughest stretch, trap game, the easiest stretch, all that and more. We are examining the schedule. This is another sign that football is slowly, as one book ends, another one opens up. We're excited for it. We're going to talk about all those superlatives next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second, as always, for our friends of the show, a quick second to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers. We'll jump into our friends of the show right here from Mazda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. And unrivaled, Miami felt the breeze as Paige Beckers powered the breeze to a 75-68 win over the Lunar Owls, finishing with 28 points and 7 assists. She was joined by 20-year-old Dominique Malunga, who added 21 points, 8 rebounds, and became just the second player to ever dunk in an unrivaled game. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Rajeev, let's come back into this. We got superlatives, but first, a couple comments. Griffin says, exciting to see. I think he thinks maybe the Iowa win could be a turning point of the season. Maybe go 6-2 at that point. Love that one. Quinn says, if we can keep it competitive with Notre Dame, we'll do great things for confidence. Next game's against Penn State and the out-of-conference games. And listen, Raul, I was there with you. Flew into Madison that morning for the Maryland game. It was a terrible, sad showing. It was miserable. All right, let's get some superlatives. Most important game on this schedule, Rajeev.
I mean, this was a tough one. I thought about this for a minute, and I think ultimately it's still Minnesota. I wanted to say an earlier game just because, important for like the season turn, but this team needs a trophy in the cabinet right now. And Minnesota has beaten us 2 years in a row, and it's not fun to have that. So Minnesota's the most important game. You could talk about Iowa, you could talk about Notre Dame, you could talk about some other ones, but for me, winning the Axe is so critical. And if Luke Fickell doesn't do it, no matter what happens before then, I think people are going to just be, they're going to have had it. So it's got to be Minnesota.
I have the same answer. I think a lot of people are going to go Iowa, which I totally get. I think that's an incredibly fair answer. But dude, you got to beat Minnesota. And ultimately, I don't think this is a team that is positioned itself in any stretch for a playoff run or anything like that. So I don't think you're looking for that marquee win against USC or Penn State. I think you have to reestablish dominance against your rivals. That's Minnesota, Iowa. To me, Minnesota is a team you have to remind them of where they're at. You have to remind them of what the last 20 years of football has been like, which has been Wisconsin taking care of that rivalry and putting that Axe back in the trophy case in Madison. It's in Camp Randall. It's in Madison. Yeah, to me, it's Minnesota, man. It's absolutely Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right, toughest stretch. I'll start this one. I think you come right off that bye. Listen, UCLA, who knows, right? New coaching staff from a place that has produced some successful coaches now. You got to go there. That's a long road trip off a bye. That could be kind of a sleepy time. And then you get USC at home, and then you go to Iowa, a team that has shellacked you the last 2 years. I think that 3-game stretch right there, coming off a bye that I think is a little early. You have to take a long road trip right away. Then you've got USC. Then you got to go to Kinnick. To me, that's very easily the toughest stretch of the schedule for me.
Same. I mean, that 3-game stretch, I think completely agree with you. When 2 of them are on the road at difficult places to play, I mean, UCLA is not theoretically a difficult place to play, but still, you're right. They've still got talent out there, and they're getting more talent through the portal. Yeah, I mean, you're probably playing back-to-back ranked teams in USC and Iowa. They're probably they're going to be ranked at that time. They're very difficult. And I think you steal one against USC, then that confidence really ratchets up for Iowa. But I mean, think about that. We just said, both of us, and I think most people in the chat would agree, the toughest stretch of the season is UCLA, USC, and Iowa. That compared to what last season's toughest stretch was is, I mean, easier by a country mile. And that alone should tell you that the schedule's easy because that's our toughest stretch.
Yeah, I mean, the toughest game is Notre Dame, right? I mean, you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you buy into the narrative that they're going to be pissed off because they didn't get to the playoffs? Is that a thing? I don't think so either. I don't buy into that narrative.
I listen, like, they can be as pissed off as they want. I don't think that's going to fuel them coming into the next year. I think what fuels them is the fact that they loaded up in the portal and they have a lot of talent. I would also argue, though, that Penn State might be our toughest game because, like, that at Penn State, that is a very difficult environment. We tend to play them fairly well, but that is not an easy place to play. And I'm telling you, Campbell is he's a good coach, and he brought a lot of his guys from Iowa State. That team is new coach, new everything, but that's going to be a very good team.
Stan, he got his cooler bag from the Christmas show today. So I will say, Rajeev and I are probably 2 or 3 weeks slow shipping things out, but glad that things are coming, and really do appreciate everybody for doing those things and being a part of this community. So glad that those gifts are getting there. Let's go trap game, Rajeev. What's your biggest trap game here?
Yeah, I mean, we have beaten the Purdue Boilermakers 18 straight times, and it is the game that means the most to me because I'm from Lafayette, Indiana, and I hate Purdue and IU, as you all know. And that streak is going to end one of these years, and every time we play at Ross-Ade, I get a little fearful of it. And Minnesota is going to be massive. Like, we know that's going to be the game, and everyone's going to be sleeping on Purdue because honestly, they're not going to be much better. They might have a couple wins at that point. And if we're in like a shooting for like a 7 or 8 win season, that's that game where you've got to take care of business at Ross-Ade. Otherwise, they're gonna get you. You're gonna get a snake bite, and you're gonna be really pissed going into your rivalry game.
Yeah, I think Purdue. Listen, obviously, going to be a different team this year. Different coaching staff, different players. It is a team that went 0-9 last year in conference. I would hope that that's just not a trap game just because of where they've been. But you're right. Like, that's a game you have to get. And you have Minnesota looming the next week. I think that's a good choice there. I went with UCLA. I just feel like that could be such a sleepy stadium. You're looking, I think you might be looking ahead to USC. That could be if you play well in that first stretch, you could be looking at a potentially ranked versus ranked game in Camp Randall the following week against USC. I think UCLA could be a trap game. I also think going to Maryland could be a bit of a trap game. A team that maybe it shouldn't be because they beat you last year in your house, but a team that probably isn't very good, a team that doesn't have a lot of juice in their environment. You're coming off a home game. I think those type of games are trap games. What's your easiest stretch here?
I think, excluding the non-cons that are weak, I think our easiest stretch is probably, honestly, you look at the last 4 and you're like, that you should go 4-0. And I know that Maryland beat us. And by the way, I think Maryland's another, I don't think that's a trap game only because that's like big time poster board material right now. Like, that's going to be bulletin board material. That's going to be talked about a lot. Not that helped us against Iowa, but that game, they kicked our butt in Camp Randall. I don't think that's a trap game, but the last 4, Rutgers to Minnesota, probably your easiest stretch. You want to make it even smaller, you can just go Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue as an easy stretch. I like when easy stretches are at the beginning though of the season, because then you can build up wins. And then we might need those wins at the end, but that's still the easiest stretch.
Yeah, there's no argument there. That is a stretch of teams where Maryland won 1 or 2 Big Ten games last year. Purdue won 0. Rutgers won 2. Listen. Let's be honest. I've talked a lot about where Wisconsin is in the pecking order of the Big Ten right now. I think that's a fair conversation with how we've played the last 2 years. But if we're gonna be Wisconsin, like real Wisconsin, that's a stretch you go 3-1 against at a minimum. Throwing the Minnesota game in there, that's a stretch where if you're a real program, you're rolling through Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, and probably beating Minnesota at home. And if you're not doing that, then we're not a real program. And quite honestly, this transfer portal haul didn't live up to its billing. I think it's fair to say.
It is fair to say. And it's going to be a really sad day if that's what we're talking about, because for the 3rd year in a row, that's going to be really, really upsetting. I hope that's not the case.
What would be a bigger win, home USC or at Penn State?
At Penn State, I think, because I really do think that's the toughest game of the year. You had said Notre Dame, and you're right, but can the toughest game of the season be one you play at Lambeau Field? I don't know, considering the road games are difficult. I just think that's the toughest environment there is and on our schedule, and that would be just massive to be 1-0 in conference with that game behind you, arguably the toughest game all year. What an incredible start to the season that would be.
You know why I think it's Notre Dame? Notre Dame actually, in this world of churn that we live in, has a lot of players coming back. They have most of their secondary coming back, a lot of their lines. They have as much consistency and continuity as just about any program out there, I think. And meanwhile, we're coming in, we have 50 new bodies on this roster, counting the freshmen coming in. It just feels like a team that we could be trying to find ourselves, whereas Notre Dame is going to be much more established with a multi-year head coach there. I just think their roster is in a much better spot, and there's more continuity.
Can you imagine what that will do? Listen, What, like 1-0 in the season at Lambeau? We beat Notre Dame. You're pretty much at that point guaranteeing 2 more victories, unless you're completely just idiotic. Then you're 3-0 going in the Big Ten season, and you've got a massive marquee win. I mean, what an amazing like launch, for lack of a better phrase, that would be to the season. Holy cow.
Dude, nothing would make me happier. I like Notre Dame, their smugness. I still think it's absolutely ridiculous. They like decided just to quit and go home because they didn't get into the playoffs. Like nothing would make me happier. I just thinking with my head, gosh, man, they've been so much better the last couple of years. They have so much more continuity. They have a better roster. And I don't think home field / Lambeau matters as much if there's a big talent gap. You know, like we were home for Maryland. We were home 2 years for home for Iowa, right? Like, I just don't think it matters that much when the rosters are that imbalanced.
I agree to an extent. I think that when you have an opening game of the season, when no one knows what to expect, right? And you're just like, everyone's in like this limbo of what kind of team are we going to see? And Camp Randall, great stadium, but this past year, obviously not that great of an atmosphere because of how we were performing. Lambeau's not going to be like that. Like Lambeau, that's a historic place. Badger fans we remember that LSU game. Like Badger fans want to go back there. Yes, exactly. That I think that atmosphere is going to be very difficult for Notre Dame to play in, honestly.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, we're going to take a quick second here. Actually, no, Rajeev, anything else schedule-wise you wanted to hit? We do have a couple factor fictions coming up. We haven't done that in a while, but anything else schedule-wise?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I think Michigan State is another really important game. It's likely that we're going to be 0-1 after going to Penn State. But if we start 0-2 before our bye week, that all of a sudden just kick. Then we have that toughest stretch of the year. We could be staring at 0-4. I mean, something like that. That's what you can't do if you want it. You don't want to need those end of the season games to even make a bowl. That Michigan State game is low key really important. They're not that great of a team. They lost obviously their best wide receiver. I don't think Childs is leaving. I don't know where he went, but like that's a team we need to beat in our opening Big Ten game at home. We haven't talked about that game tonight, but it's super important.
Yeah, Pat Fitzgerald there too. It's gonna be interesting. What's your quick record prediction? You see the schedule. If you have to make a very, very early, we haven't even seen spring football yet, record prediction.
Yeah, so I think you look at Notre Dame, Penn State, USC, and Iowa as likely losses.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll probably win one of those. You'll probably lose another one that you're not supposed to. So 8-4, 7-5, 8-4 is where I want. I'm going to say 7-5 just because this team has to prove that we can actually put this all on the field. 7-5, but I think, and I mean this, a much better record is really possible here. We've seen a lot of comments here about you can find a way to get to 10 wins. You definitely can. You beat Notre Dame. Let me tell you, I'm gonna be on here talking about the national title. So I'm not really, but
yeah, you are. Yeah, we are.
I 7-5 is going to be like my early prediction based on the schedule release.
Yeah, I'm at 7-5 as well. Like I do think you lose to Notre Dame. I do think you lose to Penn State. I do think you lose to Iowa, and then you find a way probably to lose a combination of USC, Maryland, Minnesota. So I think I'm cautiously at 7-5. I could definitely see 8-4. I think 9-3 starts to stretch it because I think if you're trying to go 9-3, that means you're winning all the games you probably should theoretically. And when has Wisconsin done that? Even when they were better, when has Wisconsin won every game they should? So yeah. I think 7-5, 8-4 is where I'm going to couch my bets. But yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. I'm open to altering that up if early on we see even if the Notre Dame game is like a puncher's game, right, where it's close and they fight and you can be like, okay, we're seeing something here. There is a path here to more wins, but this team has to be significantly better.
Yeah. If you were setting the line in Vegas, like what do you think the Vegas line is going to be here?
Man, I think 6.5.
I think it might be like right at 6 or potentially 5.5 would be too low for Vegas. I would say it's going to be 6 or 6.5 as well, just because like that. But if it was 5.5, I wouldn't be that surprised given our recent performance.
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat there. All right, let's take a second here. We're going to come back with some factor fiction, including a gray guard one that I've been chewing on in my head recently. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for our friends of the show. Quick second to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers and saying, hey, if you want to go get tickets and do more in life, go get your tickets on Game Time. Game Time is the best spot to get all of your ticket needs. And Listen, we have a Locked On meetup coming up this weekend, which we're really excited for, but we should all be doing more things in life in general. And Game Time is a great way to do there. Get into those NBA arenas, enjoy the crowd, the energy, the moment, and not stress about the tickets. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. Pull up the app, no hidden fees. You get zone deals, so you can choose your section, find the best seats inside those sections. NBA tickets, all sorts of tickets show up at the best prices. Everything feels quick. It's intuitive. It's stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Today's episode also brought to you by our great friends over at FanDuel. Rajeev, it is last call on the football season. Who do you want to win the Super Bowl?
Very much the Seattle Seahawks. I cannot stand the New England Patriots. I'm not okay with it. I know you're an NFC West guy, so I get it. But I will be on FanDuel. I'll be placing my bet on the Seattle Seahawks. I believe the early line is -4.5 on the Seahawks. I think that's right. I think I saw that today. Going to be a great one, but an amazing place to make all those bets. And the Super Bowl is known for their prop bets. Do it on FanDuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Super Bowl 60. FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of the action with special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Listen, whether you're backing the favorite, like Rajeev sounds like it's going to be, or riding the underdog like I'm, because I cannot have an NFC West team win the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. The Seahawks cannot win the Super Bowl in the Niners Stadium. Can't happen. FanDuel's the perfect way to cap off the season, make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season's over. This is the last call for football on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Rajeev, they can't win the Super Bowl on my stadium, my field.
I feel for you, but I can't see the one of the easiest paths ever to a Super Bowl just given to the New England Patriots. Like, can that team get any luckier? Stop it. Ever since the Tuck rule, I can't handle this team.
No, that's fair. And listen, you're a Colts fan, so I definitely get that coming from the AFC perspective. Can they just both lose? Can we just hit the reset button? Unbelievable. All right, Rajeev, ready? Fact or fiction? We haven't done this in a while. It's been a lot of portal stuff, and we've been kind of busy in holidays, but we used to do this show every week. I think we need to get a little more back into that group, because that's one of my favorite shows. But for those who haven't seen it, we each have some fact or fictions that we don't tell the other person. So these are kind of out of nowhere, or not out of nowhere, but they don't know the fact or fiction beforehand. Rajeev, fact or fiction, Greg Gard deserves blame for not having Daniel Freitag and/or Gus Yalden and/or Xavier Amos on the bench this year.
I want to say yes, but honestly, it's probably more NIL related than anything else. And I think that's the reality. Like, I'm very appreciative of the things that Greg Gard has done in the portal, bringing us guys like John Tonje and Amos and Storr and Boyd and these guys. So I think his roster management's been pretty decent. Yes, I would have loved to have had Gus Yalden and his interior presence and Daniel Freitag and his 20 points a game right now. But part of that is, yes, it's on him. But ultimately, if we had the NIL dollars, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Yes, he needs to play them more. So I think there's a small amount of blame on him. But I think more of the blame for me is on the fact that we can't financially compete with other schools.
Yeah, I think you're pretty correct on that. I do think there's a reticence to play some of the younger talents that, and we're seeing it a tiny bit with Kinzinger as well. I think if you had played Freitag more, he might still be on this team this year. And I could be wrong on that. I could be completely wrong on that. And maybe he wasn't ready at all last year, but you kind of get younger guys ready by playing them to some degree. You know, Freitag right now averaging 25-4 at Buffalo, which is the Division I school, shooting 38% from three. Imagine having an athletic guard like that off the bench. I think there is a little bit of blame there. This staff, if you have a young talent like that is that athletic and was recruited that highly, I think you almost have to find a way to get him more minutes during the course of a season and develop him. So he sees his future in Madison and he's willing to stay there. I will say on Yalden, I think Yalden came in not quite ready mentally, and I don't put that on Greg Gard. I think Amos didn't quite live up to his expectations and wanted to go somewhere to start. So I think it's a case-by-case thing, but I do think with Daniel Freitag, if you had played him a little bit more, maybe there's a chance he's still here. And maybe you're correct with the NIL as well.
Yeah, I mean, and look, and Gus Yalden's playing at Vermont, Freitag's playing at Buffalo. They're lower level schools that those schools' NIL dollars are going to get people that weren't playing last year in the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC, stuff like that. So financially, they're going to offer them more than our guys. So there is that element of it too. But you're right. Like if we lose Kinzinger because he's not playing him well enough, more than he should, that's going to just upset me. And I don't. Maybe that's an NIL issue too. But you do have to be able to re-recruit some of your guys and keep the young talent, because developing young talent is still a really important part of being really good and really great as those guys age.
Yeah, I think it's well said. All right, what's your fact or fiction?
So my fact or fiction is a mid-season sort of basketball thing. Fact or fiction, up to this point in the season, Nolan Winter has been the MVP of this team.
Oh, fact.
Ah.
I think it's a total fact. I think from an efficiency standpoint, I've talked about it a lot, but I also just think he is almost single-handedly manned the paint. He's been the most consistent, reliable guy down there. He's been guarding the toughest 5, the toughest 4. He's been unbelievably efficient on offense. Outside of really his last game where he was 5 of 13, I think he's been a stalwart, a double-double. He runs the floor incredibly hard. I also think while Boyd is very outwardly vocal, he's very easy to see his energy. Nolan Winter is kind of the heart of this team. You saw it after an early season loss where he went to the podium. He gives such a crap about this team. I think he is the emotional heart right now of this Badgers team, the most efficient offensive player, the only 4 or 5 that can really be counted on to guard in the post and defend the post. I think he's maybe not the best player. I think he's very definitely the MVP.
Well, I didn't think you were going to say that. Justin's answer to that was Nick Boyd. But yeah, for me, it's definitely Nolan Winter. This is fact. I completely agree with you. There's not really much more to add. He's he's damn near averaging a double-double. Like this dude's he's almost averaging a double-double. He's been incredible, so efficient. And the fact that he doesn't play down low as much as I want him to, but you can see that he's really trying. Like when he gets the ball down there, he knows that he needs to be more physical. He knows that he needs to be able to be more reliable down there, and he's giving it his all. And I've been so happy with him this year. I think he's definitely been the MVP. I think most people would probably say Nick Boyd to that, but I'm glad that the two of us agree on that one.
Yeah, I think, listen, no disrespect to Nick Boyd or John Black or anyone else, but Nolan Winter's just been a metronome. He's been steady, consistent. I'll tell you another thing. Do you know how hard it is to jump up from the 4 to the 5, play 30 minutes a game and never get in foul trouble, but still play hard? He's just unbelievably good for this team. And yeah, to me, he's absolutely the NIL or the MVP here.
Yeah.
Fact or fiction, Rajeev? Deuce Adams is the number 2 quarterback at the end of the year.
At the end of the year. So okay. Yeah, fact. I mean, fact, because our guy is playing and he's going to play 12 games and he's going to be healthy.
Oh, I'm more talking about could Carter Smith challenge by the end of the year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I think it's fact. I think Deuce Adams stays number 2. I don't want to talk bad about Carter Smith. I think Carter Smith, I said last year that I think Carter Smith has played started his last game for Wisconsin that he's going to start. I would love for him to take a jump. I just didn't see what I thought I was going to see in his ability to find the passing lanes and to be a better pocket passer. He's athletic for sure. Can he develop? Yes. But I think Deuce Adams probably stays number 2.
I think you're probably right. I do think this staff wants one of their recruited players to take that. And Deuce, while solid, I think he's a guy that you, in an ideal world, Ryan Hopkins, and maybe not this year, Ryan Hopkins or Carter Smith passes him. I think in an ideal world, your internal options pass your portal guys to some degree. So I think that's what the staff would like. The staff really likes Carter Smith still. They like the intangibles there. He is a guy that won 2 games for you last year, albeit maybe not through his arm, but through not turning the ball over, through some toughness, some intangibles. I think there's a chance Carter Smith passes Deuce Adams. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'd like to see it because, I wouldn't love if I'd like to see it, but I would like to see that development from him, which is great. Okay, so going back, staying with football, I'm glad we each had one basketball, one football one. I'm going to talk about the defense only because offense, I think the answer is a little bit too obvious. But fact or fiction, as the defensive roster sits right now versus the defensive roster that sat at the end that ended the season, right, for us here. Fact or fiction, next year's defensive roster is better and you're more confident that this defense is better?
Gosh, that's a really good one, Rajeev. I think it's fact that next year's is going to be better. But I think some of that is just based on the fact that Posa and Catalano are going to have another year in the system, and they're going to be sophomores instead of freshmen. I think that matters a lot, right? I think the defense line took a step back. I really do. I know people are very quick to point out Poyser and Jake Anderson. I think those are great pickups. Bro, Ben Barton is going to play in an NFL. Like, I don't know if you're replacing him. Mason Reiger is going to be a second or third round pick on the edge. Daryl Peterson was maybe the only player similar to Mason Reiger. I think at the edges on the defense line, you took a step back. You're not replacing all those guys. Now, I think the secondary is better, though. I think the secondary with Burks and the cornerbacks is probably better. So I think linebackers a little better because those young guys take a step. I think the secondary is better, but I think the defense line and the edges took a step back, man. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is fiction, actually. I am very concerned, and I haven't talked about it a ton, but the defensive line scares me. Justin's pretty positive on it, but I'm very concerned that last year we spent a lot of effort on the defensive line. Good. And this year we did go out there and get some guys, but I don't know that we really got the talent that we needed. And the question is, can we develop the guys that were already there? Is Dylan Johnson going to take a step? Is he going to come out and play a lot? And you're right about the secondary for sure. I trust the cornerbacks way more, but I am concerned that we don't have a better defensive roster than we did at the end of last year, because you're absolutely right. I mean, Mason Reiger, he's unbelievable. And I didn't watch it, but Justin did. And he was texting us the Senior Bowl. He had apparently a couple sacks and maybe defensive MVP. Like, what a game. And you're right about Peterson. And ultimately, though, and I've said this a lot, if the defensive line isn't working, the defense doesn't work. Okay. I know Posta and Catalano were great, but if they're not getting that push and they're not getting off blocks and being able to let those linebackers actually work and do what they're supposed to do, we can see things take a turn very quickly. So I'm officially going to say fiction on this. I really don't think this defensive roster is better than the one that we ended with.
Yeah, Mitch James, Barton, and Reiger are hard to replace. Mitch also says D-line can be better because of better secondary play. That helps. But I will say this, 2 years ago, the secondary never had a chance to play because the defense line got pushed around all game long, and it was 2nd and 1, 3rd and 2. I think you're right. I think it starts up front. Mitch is right. The secondary is better, but to me, can they stop the run? I don't think you're going to be as disruptive in the pass game, but can they stop the run? That's where I think Jake Anderson's a big get. Poyser is not a great run defender, by the way. He's more of a pass rusher. So you need Perk to step up. You need Dylan Johnson to step up. Xavier Pono to step up. You need those guys to step up. And I'm there with you. I don't think the front seven's better. The edges than the defense line specifically.
And I gotta say, like you brought him up, Ben Barton. That dude had such a good year, and he is going to be sorely missed. You don't even realize like how much of an impact he had sometimes because his name's not getting called. But that dude just filled up space. And when you have someone like that, everyone else can do their job. I'm telling you, he is going to be very, very sorely missed. And I'm hoping that you're right. I'm hoping that a guy like Dylan Johnson takes a big step next year. We could really use that, and that would go a long way.
I'm not sure he will, though. Like, I'm not sure we saw a lot of flashes from Dylan. Yeah. So it's tough, man, because I do think, look at how good Posa was last year. Imagine what he's going to be like with an entire year of strength and conditioning, another year of spring practice, fall practice. Those linebackers should be better, right? Those linebackers should be better. If the defense line can just be solid, I think you've grown in the other two phases of defense. So maybe it's a wash at that point then. I don't know. It's a great question. I think it's a really good one.
I also feel like linebacker is great, but look at the depth. Are we happy with the depth there at the inside? Like Post and Catalano, great, but if one of those guys is injured, we don't have Christian Allegro anymore, right? I mean, is it Heiberger? Like that inside depth, is it Kamara? I'm a little concerned about that too.
I will say I've thought about that, but I think picking up that, and I'm blanking on Schaefer. Taylor Schaefer, college, who had 147 something tackle. Like he's just a tackling machine. I think there's your depth on the inside. I think he'll be fine there. Kamara is probably not somebody they want to count on this year, but I think Schaefer's the guy that fills into what you would have thought Allegro would be. And then you still have Heiberger there. Certainly, if you lose Posa or Catalano, there's no replacement for them. But I do think they have a couple bodies back there I feel okay about. Would have liked to have Allegro back as well. But I also think that secondary is going to give you look at those safeties last year. Now you replace them with you get Burks coming in from Missouri. Young is a year older. I think that the safeties, especially once Zachman went out last year, were for much of the season a black hole to some degree on this defense. They didn't tackle well. They didn't make plays. They struggled in coverage. that could be significantly better this year. So
Yeah.
there's a part of the defense that I do think they grew a lot in.
Yeah, the pass rush is another one that's I find the defense really interesting. Well, we talk a lot about the offense, but I think the defense is super interesting. And I like, who's our best pass rusher right now? Like who's going to be the guy that's going to like own the pass rush? Is it Cheeks? Like, is it Fairbury? Is it Clayton? Is it, this Liam Dinitz? Like we don't really know. And I think last year we knew we had a Mason Reiger. We knew instantly that Mason Reiger was our best pass rusher before the season started, before anything. It's a little question mark right now.
No, that's a great point. I think you hope Clayton takes a step forward, right? I think Dennis is just a complete boomer bust guy. He could either have 7 sacks or he could never leave the bench. And neither would surprise me. I have no idea. I'm not even going to pretend to know. Poyser, I talked about him not being a great run defender. 5.5 sacks from the interior is pretty impressive. So I think you have some interior rush there. And then you need a couple of those other guys to step up. You need Cheeks to take another step forward. I will say Posa as an interior type of linebacker is as disruptive as we've had. His pass rush grades are ridiculous, and the defense took off when him and Coop came in. So you're going to get, you remember the defenses with like Orr and Sanborn, some of that interior linebacker rush. I think he helps in the pass rush there, but you're still not replacing a Reiger and a Daryl Peterson, I don't think. So it's a great question, man.
Yeah.
It's a really good fact or fiction. I almost want to go push now that we've talked through it.
Yeah.
But it's a really good one.
Yeah. Man, it's going to be crazy.
Locked On meetup this weekend. Yes. So if you haven't seen the details, we've talked about it. It's in the Discord. But come hang with us on Friday. Saturday, we're going to be there, go to the game. We're going to pregame, postgame. Really excited to do it. Rajeev's going to be there. Justin's going to be there. Nick Osen's going to show up for a bit. Rajeev, any details or thoughts missing out on that?
Yeah, it's if you go to my Twitter page at Rajeev Badgers, it's pinned at the top of that too. You can check that out. That's our schedule. Poolies Friday night, 6:00. Saturday, Echo Tap, and the main depot potentially before the game. Even if you can come out, even have a quick beer, it'd be great to just to meet many people.
It's a ton of fun. We're going to wrap it there, guys. On Wisconsin, sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning of this show, but as always, Rajeev held it down. We will definitely talk later and on Wisconsin.